My father was born on Christmas Day. How's that for a way to start life as a Christian? His father was born in Syria. And I've always liked to believe that our family actually goes back to the first Christian church, which was in Antioch, Syria. I can't be sure of that, of course, but I do know that the family goes back to the first Syrian Christian church in Allentown. Dad's grandmother, Nur Bishwati, was one of the founders of St. George Church about 1915. That's the church where Dad was first baptized and confirmed. Some of you may wonder why he carries two middle initials, Edward R.N. Charles. That's because he has two confirmation names. His first confirmation name he took was Raymond, after his uncle Raymond Bishwati. And when he entered the Roman Rite, he took the name Nicholas after his uncle Nicholas Bishwati. We all know that Christians are called to give of themselves and serve others. My dad took that to heart. For example, I can remember a night decades ago at a dinner following the dedication of a new wing of the old Allentown Osteopathic Hospital. A delightful MC named Mort White praised my dad by telling the audience, and this is almost a direct quote, "Ed Charles has been here since dawn this morning, making sure that your every need would be satisfied." That was not much of an exaggeration. Dad gave much of himself for good causes like the hospital, and he always seemed to have the details worked out perfectly. So perhaps we shouldn't be surprised that Dad planned much of this day in detail too. Back in 2001, he worked out his own funeral arrangements with his friend Mike Weber. I could also say that he also wrote his own eulogy. Actually, he kind of spoke it extemporaneously many years ago. Fortunately for me, it was recorded on videotape. The occasion was my dad's and mom's 50th wedding anniversary, April 23rd, 1988. That night, the family put on a long program that looked back lovingly at their lives together, and some of our guests told stories about the honored couple and also thanked Dad for some of the things that he had done for them. At the end of the evening, Dad, obviously very moved by what he had heard and seen, rose to speak. He told us some things about himself that might have surprised some people. One of the first things he said was this, quote, "I have never done anything for anybody that I didn't enjoy doing. So if anybody says that I did anything good, I want them to know that I enjoyed doing it." Well, Dad enjoyed himself a lot because he did a lot for a lot of people. Dad gave much of his time to his community, giving so much to so many organizations that this week the Morning Call had to use 2 columns to print his obituary. Much of that giving of himself took place during evenings and weekends. So on that 50th anniversary night, Dad said the following about the early decades of his marriage, and I quote, "It seemed that I was always out. I was always doing something. I was trying to prove that an ethnic could get somewhere in Pennsylvania. I have newspaper clippings I used to bring home. They're in drawers now, yellowing with age. Plaques? My goodness, I've got so many plaques that the walls can't hold them. And they're also rusting in boxes. I've got trophies, except for the hole-in-one trophy, which my mother got." He continued, "What I want to say is that Kay gave me 3 trophies. Donald, Kathy, and Bonnie. I call them trophies because they're the ones that mean something to you and every family." And then motioning to our mother, he said, "She brought them into the world. She nursed them. She dressed them, bathed them, taught them, made sure they went to church, taught them how to become adults, takes care of their children now. She just does it all." And this is my statement tonight in tribute to Kay, because she should take the credit for my 3 trophies, unquote. It was a loving and worthy tribute to our mother, but we, his trophies, as he called us, well remember what he did for us too. Imparting values, teaching us, mostly by example. Things like how to make a friend and how to be a friend, respect for elders and authority, the importance of our education. And growing up, whatever we tried to do in the outside world, he supported us and frequently found a way to be there to see it happen despite all the other obligations he took on. And so there he was that night, 1988, celebrating an important milestone, mindful of the many things he had accomplished, but talking instead about what counted more: family. 24 years later, at the Ed Charles Exhibition Hall naming ceremony last October at the fairgrounds, Bill Albert said it again for him, and I quote, "Although very involved with business, the community, and of course the Great Allentown Fair, he always talked about his greatest moments as being a husband, a father, and a grandfather," unquote. And Bill, we can add to that, great-grandfather, in both meanings of that expression. 13 years ago, I stood here as we celebrated our mother's life in her memorial mass. On that day, I spoke of something that I imagined and hoped for my mom. I imagined seeing her in heaven circa 1937, in a heavenly version of her family's home on East 34th Street in Brooklyn, New York, waiting for that handsome Eddie Charles from Allentown to drive up in his snazzy Model A Ford so that they could enjoy the day together. Now I'm here again, this time imagining that heavenly reunion is taking place today, and that they will enjoy not just a day together, but all eternity together. God bless you, Mom and Dad.